Hi, my name's Madison Moffat, and I'm from the TransCreative Connections on Bent TV. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm with Lunar Jade today. And Lunar is someone who I've been acquainted with now for some time. And I've seen them unfold into someone who is really active within our community and has moved down to Melbourne and gone from strength to strength as a result of that move. Firstly, we'll have Lunar introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Lunar. I go by Lunar Jade as well. My pronouns are she and they. That's us.
We might have a conversation where you'll use words like us rather than me and the like. So I thought in your own words, I might get you to explain why that would be.
The easiest way to honestly explain it is that I'm part of a system. For those who don't know what that actually means, is I have what's called DID. It stands for Dissociative Identity Disorder.
Right.
And it's a mental health disorder, but it's not actually as well as what people think. It used to be known as multiple personality disorders, and unfortunately with movies like Split and other forms of media, it can be misrepresented.
From my perspective, it's just been something that's enriched my interaction with you as a person. And it's also, I think, sometimes brought some very interesting interactions within our writing sessions.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Yeah. Considering we've had a couple of our different headmates, or alters, as some people call them.
Yeah, alters, yes.
We prefer to call them our headmates because they enjoy that.
You're saying it in the sessions. In the
sessions, yeah. There's been a few interesting comments made from others within our system, and usually they cop a laugh. Yeah.
No, it certainly, as I say, it certainly has enriched the experience.
It's I think. definitely been enriching for us as well. Don't get me wrong, learning that we're part of a system is hard.
Yes.
And because it means, there's a lot of things that we're not always comfortable with.
Yes.
Quite a bit, actually. But yeah, there's also been good times, not just the more difficult ones, but there's been a lot of good times, and we have a lot of support.
We are here today to talk about your creativity, specifically. And so I thought, starting off with that, when are your first memories of being creative?
I could tell you that we were creative from young, building stuff out of Lego. I remember that. I remember drawing or attempting to draw, like copying Pokemon cards from the cards on a chalk.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the earliest real memory of creativity was probably one of the few memories we actually have of high school that are pleasant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let me set the scene for you.
Please.
12 years old in English class. And we had a creative writing assignment.
Yes.
And we couldn't figure out what to write. We really couldn't. So instead of actually writing the story, we wrote down a quote.
Right.
And it was something we made up. Yeah, it was such a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
Bards, tale spinners, authors, it doesn't matter what you call us. It's not the name we're known by. But to tell a story once, it's better to tell a story once with feeling than hear it 1,000 times without. Yeah, not bad for a 12-year-old.
And I take it that you got a good reception from that.
Oh no, the teacher didn't understand it.
Oh.
Teacher had no idea. We failed that assignment.
But still, for you, there was meaning.
For us, there was meaning. There was meaning to it because thinking about it, it's like, it doesn't matter where the story comes from.
Yes.
It's better it doesn't matter what name the author tells it under. It's better to hear an authentic story is spoken with the emotions, spoken with the feelings behind it,
Yes.
than to hear it secondhand where it loses all its authenticity and it loses all that powerful moments, because somebody who hasn't experienced it, somebody who doesn't know what it's like
Yeah.
and can't actually imagine how it'd be like, is telling them.
Well, if you wrote it in a more structured way to appease a teacher and get a good mark,
Oh yeah,
it
look,
wouldn't have that authenticity.
It wouldn't have been the same. What we turned in was a paragraph of only a few words,
Yes.
and yet we can knock that out in a few hours without a problem. These days we can usually put out 2 or 3 of them without an issue, but it's more holding that authentic flavor, being myself, not only as me, as Lunar, but also as part of the system.
Yes.
Holding that authentic flavor within ourselves. We can't be anybody else. We can't pretend to know what anybody else is going through. We can get it through shared experiences,
Yeah.
as we have within the trans and gender diverse community, but we can't actually experience what another person's gone through unless we've gone through it.
Yes. Yes.
And that authentic flavor it can be duplicated, yes, but it can never be shared unless that other person fully understands.
So writing something and how to write something is something you can be taught perhaps within a school, but having that sort of authentic meaning to it only comes through lived experience?
It depends on what's being written. I mean,
Sure.
yes, you can have structural writing. People do it all the time, and most people, usually when it comes to writing, say for example, writing a novel, most people use first act, which is the introduction, second act, which is where the growth of the story and the conflict happens, and the third act they usually call the hero's act.
Yeah.
Hero's arc, where all the big endings come in, but
Yeah. And everything's reconciled.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or destroyed depending on the story.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, not all stories have happy endings.
No. No.
For me, myself, when I write, I can't plan ahead. I can't plot something out and say, right, I'm going to have this happen at this happen at this happen. I have to let the story create itself. I see myself as nothing more than a chronicler.
Right.
In that aspect.
Yes.
I'm just detailing the lives of what happens. I might have a base idea of where I want to start, or a genre, and I'll just let the story flow itself.
Yes.
It's commonly referred to as instinctual writing.
Right. And with that type of approach, it is absolutely dependent on authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely being able to be dependent on the authenticity, not only of telling the story the way it happens,
Yes.
but in the case of fiction, letting what's been written before direct how the story flows next.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Without any structure. I mean, life is messy, life is chaotic, life doesn't have structure.
Yeah.
We as humans try to put structure to it, but as people know, plans change.
And do you tend to then structure later? Do you, or add some structure, like edit post first draft?
I haven't yet.
You haven't yet.
Yeah, but then again, we're still working on our first manuscript novel.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, novel manuscript, sorry. Again, right there, chaotic. Just
Right.
that moment of 2 words being mixed up
Yeah.
by calling it a manuscript novel instead of a novel manuscript.
Yes.
That's something we had to fix afterwards, but it wasn't something we had to change.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's finding the right balance.
With the short pieces and the poetry that I've seen you write and also present.
We don't fix them up.
No. Well, don't really think they need
we
them.
might do a little typo editing.
Yeah.
But we generally don't change a thing. And that poetry is actually written by Alyssa,
Yes.
one of our other headmates,
Right.
who started out nonverbal and was using poetry as an explanation, as an expression, not explanation, sorry, but as an expression of how they're feeling, what they're going through, how they see the world.
Right.
Before we were self-aware as a system, we had no idea where the ideas were coming from.
Yes.
It was just, yeah, we could be sitting outside and all of a sudden we'd just pull out a phone, type something out and knock out a poem without even fully understanding where the idea or how it flowed.
Yeah.
And why it flowed.
Yes.
But it did.
Yeah.
And now we're aware of it because Alyssa's let us know on what's known as our internal world.
Sounds like to a greater extent, when it comes to this type of work, being part of a system has its advantages.
It does. I won't say it doesn't. Like when it comes to not just creativity,
Yes.
but dealing with what can be chaos,
Yes.
in the world and everything, and in our own life.
Yeah.
Being part of a system has its advantages. I'm not going to say it's all rainbows and sparkles.
No. No. Sure.
But it does have its advantages.
Yeah.
Like when we're struggling to sleep, we might have one of the littles in our system turn around and go get one of their favorite plushies and cuddle up in bed with that and just go, let's go chase some dream butterflies.
Right.
And not long after that, we'll settle down and go to sleep.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's plenty of advantages of being a system as long as that system is supported.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is sometimes things don't always go the way they planned. And a lot of systems out there can be left unsupported, and that can struggle with them.
In the year or so that I've known you, would it be a year, maybe a year and a half, I'd say, the level of support that you've been able to acquire for yourself, I think, has improved for the better.
It has definitely improved for the better, especially coming down to Melbourne.
Yes.
Like, we won't go into the story why.
No.
But because it's still quite a bit painful.
Yeah. No, we'll
But
talk about what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, but it was having the support of one person who understood that we were in a bad place and got us down to Melbourne, got us to safety.
Yes, great.
Their name's Kate, and they were one of our support workers until they had to stop working with us. They were coming down to Melbourne every week to help us.
Yes.
And between Kate and some of the other supports that we acquired over the time, before we were down in Melbourne, we managed to find a really, really good group of supports that I can honestly say I wouldn't be here as I am without them.
Indeed.
And they have earned the trust that not many people get to.
Prior to you moving to Melbourne, you had already joined the TransCreatives writing group, for instance, via Zoom.
It was a September one.
Right.
Because the November one was the prompt that I attempted to write, because it was the Halloween one, and we did the campfire.
Yeah, so very early on, you even helped in coordinating. By coming up with a prompt, which was, I'd have to say, very few participants do that.
We joined in September. I found out about it through a friend who recommended it. And I remember that session. I remember that first session well.
Yeah.
Because, it struck a lot of chords with us. And
lovely.
The biggest thing was at the end, when we were doing the, I don't know what you call it.
Well, it's just like a debrief, isn't it?
Yeah.
If that's what you're talking about.
I think that's the easiest way to wind down, cool down, whatever.
Yeah. I suppose you're referring to when we sort of just share things like, not so much what we think of each other's writings, but what it was like to write together.
Yeah, and what it was like to be there within that group.
Yeah.
And I remember, because you had me in tears.
I do recall that.
It was the first time I'd actually cried happy tears
Yeah.
in what may seem sad, but in our entire life. And that's because the warmth and the care, the support that we'd be given by complete strangers.
Yes. It can be quite overwhelming.
It was more than overwhelming, but it was so powerful and so encompassing, because I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like I was struggling in the dark anymore.
Yeah.
I'd met other individuals who were not only creative, but part of the LGBTQI community, which where I was living, there basically was none.
No community.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It rocked me as to how amazing it could be to be not only just part of the community, but also to be celebrated for being me.
Yeah.
And I remember what I said. I meant it back then, and I mean it now. After that first session, you just made me feel like I actually had friends.
Yeah.
You just made me feel welcome. You just made me feel happy about who I was. And you just made me feel far less alone than I'd ever been. I'm not one who tends to always make friends easily. We can be quite isolated sometimes, but we got a lot to deal with. But yeah, it just made me feel like I actually had friends and like I was welcome. And I was. And I've been
absolutely
as to as many sessions as I could possibly make it.
Yeah.
Ever since. And I don't regret a single one.
I'll tell you what, on the sessions that you haven't shown up, it's immediately noticed. We miss it. The flip side, I think, to what you're saying is that, you can very quickly be part of a community of like-minded people, and, you therefore end up adding as much value as the rest of us.
But I'd like to think it's also about making connections within the community, making connections with people that we might not otherwise get a chance to. Being able to have that opportunity to discover a new possibility within ourselves, to learn a new skill, whether it's within the way we write, whether it's within the way feedback might happen.
Yes.
Like comfortable feedback, because it's always constructive criticism. It's never negative.
Yes.
And there's always open discussions about, how one person might choose to read out their writing, and that might open up another discussion.
Yes.
Completely running off tangent, but it's still to the point, and it's still, it opens up collaboration.
Yes.
And it's about sharing the different expressions and points of views, not what we might get from another person's writing, but also listening to what might come out of our own. Every time somebody writes, it's unique. Nobody ever writes the same thing. And I've noticed this with a lot of people, nobody ever, especially amongst our group, we never ever write the exact same thing. We can have one small prompt and a dozen people, and you'll get 12, 13 different answers.
Absolutely. To emphasize your point, it is the same prompt. It's the same prompt, and you get 13 completely different responses.
It's because everybody's individual perspective. Everybody's perspective, you can have two people who have the same idea, but completely different perspectives, and that'll just give you two answers.
And then that provides, the opportunity to then share those different perspectives.
And that helps provide not only understanding, but also it could open new pathways of thought that not many people have.
Yeah.
It could be, oh, well, I didn't look at it that way, but I can see how it comes. I can see how that, I can understand how that works.
Yes.
And that makes sense, but I wouldn't have thought of it like that.
Yes.
It's not being negative about it. It's just understanding a different point of view.
Yes.
from somebody who's seen the same thing completely different. The poem I'd like to read is called A Moment. When I wrote it, I was in a bad space. I hope that this piece of work, this piece of creativity can be as powerful for you as it has been for us. Standing upon a shoreline, waves smashing upon the rocks, letting the crashing sound of water against stone far below drown out the silent tears and the endless screams from within. The wind whipping past, sending my pain, my tears out to the endless ocean that lay far below my feet. As I stop, I take a breath inward and I feel the beating of my heart, knowing that I stand strong. Strong against those who have hurt me and strong against those who will try. Strong against the pain, knowing that deep within, I am who I was born to be. I have stood against hatred. I have stood against anger and rage. I have stood against voices that drown out my own, but I am still here. Life has tested me, and within that test I know that I have passed. None who have pushed me will know how much I have hurt, for they are blinded to the truth of who I am. Standing upon the rocky shore alone, with nobody around, facing a storm that I cannot see. But there I stand, there I wait, and in that moment I am me. Free to choose my life's course, free to chart my path along the stars. I stop, I take a breath in deep, before turning away from the waves, away from the oncoming storm. I turn away from the pain and I look inward to the sun rising. I look towards the dawn of a new day, of a new strength. I look towards the journey of a new me.
A lot of what you're talking about, I tend to sort of wrap in under an umbrella that I call communal writing. And then 9 times out of 10, no one knows what I'm talking about. And then I attempt a description very much along the lines of what we've been discussing now. I just wanted to sort of explore for a few minutes your experiences in engaging as a communal writer.
I'll admit, at first I was cautious.
Yes.
Absolutely cautious. But that's because I'd never done anything like it before.
There's very few forums like it. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because I've found not only within my own writing, but being as part of a communal writing, as well as you're describing, I've found it enriches my own writing when I'm writing on my own.
Yes.
Because now, before when I was writing on my own, I'd get to a certain point with something and I'd stop because I'd get stuck.
Yes.
Now, thanks to the experiences that I've had with the communal writing, I can turn around and take a breath.
Yeah.
And I can try and look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, and like you say, with 13 different examples of possible different perspectives in front of you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more than 13 because we've also got our headmates.
Ah, yes, of course, yeah.
So it offers a lot of growth.
Yeah.
To us, not only being creative, but also it's stuff that we can take back to those sessions and be communally creative as well. It offers that growth on both aspects of it.
Yeah.
Not only just on it when we're writing on our own.
Yes.
But also when we're writing within the TransCreative group.
I know that speaking for myself, being part of that group has also opened up my social networks within community. Has that been your experience?
We struggle with social aspects.
Yes.
In general, we can struggle with social aspects. We're trying to get more out into the overall community.
Yeah.
But we're still a fair few steps away. We're baby steps.
Yeah.
Or as we called it once, yoda hobbling.
But from my perspective, particularly thinking back to your situation back in, September 23, from where I'm sitting, I think that things have improved considerably. in
They
that
have.
regard. Yeah.
They have.
And I think that's
that
very
was
much down to
coming
yourself.
down-
You know, very much down to yourself and the efforts
No.
you've made. No, you disagree?
I don't put it down to myself. I put it down to the people who have helped
Yeah.
build me up from where I was, because I was in a very dark part of my life.
Sure.
And I'll be the first to admit it. We were in a very dark part of our life.
Yeah.
And when we came down to Melbourne, like we were still hurting.
Yes.
We were still crying ourselves to sleep every night.
Because without elaboration, you came to Melbourne leaving a not even particularly safe situation.
Oh, it wasn't safe at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't safe at all. And as I said, it was Kate who caught us, both figuratively and literally, and understood where we were and got us down to Melbourne. And then even coming down to Melbourne to begin with, we weren't exactly in the safest of situations, but we were supported.
Yeah.
Which made it infinitely better.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we have our own apartment, and we're better off for it. But we've been lucky enough to amass not only support within ourselves, but having multiple disabilities, our support workers are also part of the LGBT community, every one of them. So we've got the Rainbow Dream Team, as we call, or as the littles call them, the Sky Dancers.
Yeah,
which is a really cute name.
Yeah.
But we've been lucky enough to have people who really understand where we're coming from. And the majority of them themselves are trans.
Yes.
And that's one of the things we're lucky with.
And you've been fortunate enough to find that type of support with people from people within the community.
Yeah.
From my perspective, because it's from the trans creators' perspective that I see it, both within our grouping, because that friendship that you're describing is with like-minded queer people.
Yeah.
But also, quite amazingly, because as an NDIS participant myself, I've had some difficulty here. You've come up, as you say, with a dream team.
We got lucky.
Really lucky, yeah.
That's why I say we can't put it just down to ourselves.
Yes.
We have to acknowledge that it's not just us who's helping us get out there.
Yes.
But it's the support of our friends, the support of our support workers, but most of all, it's the support of the community as a whole.
Yeah, I'd have to say.
And while we are, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it. I only interrupted you.
And while we are slowly stepping forward, being part of the trans creators has helped that. It has helped us get out within that community exponentially in ways we couldn't have imagined.
Yes, and I'm so glad to hear that.
And it really, that's why I say we can't just put it down to ourselves, because it's not just us who's doing it. It's those around us, those who are supporting us, those who are helping us grow and see what potential lies within us.
Yeah.
And even though we can struggle, even though we have bad days and we can struggle taking praise and compliments and everything because of our past,
yes,
we're still supported, we're still learning, and we're still growing.
Yes.
There's a quote from one of my favorite animes, and it's called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The quote is by the main character. At the very end of it, there's no such thing as a painless lesson. In order to learn something, something else has to be sacrificed. But if you can take that pain and endure it, then yeah, you've got a heart you can get through anything. A heart made full metal.
It's been such a great experience, and to have you as part of the group, to know you and increasingly get to know you. And I can assure you, you are very much loved within our group. And
we're a little chaotic, but yeah.
yeah, well, you know, a little bit of chaos never hurt.
Like taking that big step for me back when I wasn't in a safe place,
Yes.
to actually reach out and just take that risk, because I didn't know what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was in for. It's a leap of faith I will never ever regret, because not only have everyone of my supports and my friends and the members of the TransCreative, both new and old, made my life richer, but they've also made us better, not just in the aspects of creativity, but they've made us a better listener. They've made us open, realize more, then there's more about the world than just ourselves. Not that we were self-centered, but we were so trapped within our own darkness, we couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now we've just busted open the roof and said, here we go, sunshine, moonlight, whatever you want to do, throw it at us.
That's
But
great.
yeah, being part of the TransCreative has honestly been one of the most enriching, rewarding experiences I have ever known in my life. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing I would do to change every moment of it.
Can't think of anything, you know, more embarrassingly heartwarming for me to end a conversation on. This is Madison Moffat. You've been with the TransCreatives Connections on Bent TV. The TransCreatives Sessions occur every 4th Sunday of the month, and you've been witnessing a conversation between myself and Lunar Jade. Thank you very much for joining us.